Good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday, September 24th Board of County Commissioners meeting. We do begin each of our meetings with an invocation, and today we have Don Patton with Grace Brethren Church. Please feel free to join us if you would like.
I have a verse from the writing of St. Paul in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Now may the God of peace himself sanctify you completely, and may your whole spirit, soul, and body be preserved blameless at the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. It's interesting that it's the God of peace, and we're told to pray for the peace of the city that we live in, and also for the region and the county. Let's look to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you. You say that you desire to set us apart, to sanctify us completely in our spirit, soul, and body. I just pray for each person that's making decisions, for those that are showing support. We pray for unity. We pray for wisdom. We pray for understanding. And as we read that you are the God of peace, we pray for the peace of this city. We pray for the peace of this county and for our state and for our country. Lord, we ask for mercy. We pray for forgiveness. And we pray that you would help us to walk in a way that pleases you. We pray that you would keep each person that's making decisions in unity. We pray that you'd give them strength. We pray that you would protect them and their family. We ask these things in the name of your Son, our Savior, Jesus. Amen.
Thank you. And Sheriff Joe Roybal will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Item number 3.
Item number 3 is staff emergency items, and I'm unaware of any staff emergency items today.
Item number 4.
Item number 4 is consent to appoint deputy district attorneys. 4A, appointment of Trevor Stark, James Parsons, Stephanie Curry, Andrew Wooten, and Andrew Lotto. Michael Allen, district attorney.
Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I actually am only here because I heard that Sheriff Roybal was going to be here, so I thought I'd ride his coattails over to BOCC.
All about public safety here.
Yeah, which I want to point out that this Board of County Commissioners has been fantastic on supporting public safety, both my office and the Sheriff's Office, so thank you for that. I do bring to you 4 out of the 5 people that we had scheduled for approval this morning. I want to point out that Stephanie Curry is the one that is not here with us this morning, and that's because of our mentor-mentee program. So we pair brand new attorneys up with more experienced attorneys in the office, and we encourage them to do trials together. So she's actually doing a trial in felony court this morning with her mentor. So behind me, I've got Trevor Stark, James Parsons, Andrew Wooten, and Andrew Lotto. Trevor Stark comes to us from law school in Boston at Suffolk University. He's also worked in DA's offices both in Boston and Denver. And then more interestingly to me is that he was also in the Army and worked as a cryptologic linguist and I think mastered Arabic. So maybe he can say some words to you in Arabic this morning. I don't know if he's up for it or not. And then James Parsons went to law school at St. Mary's University in San Antonio, Texas. And he interned at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Texas as well. It's important to note for St. Mary's, we've got Andy Vaughn back here. He's our chief of county court. He's a St. Mary's graduate, and we've somehow developed a pipeline to St. Mary's Law School, and we've got quite a few people in the office now from that school. And then Andrew Wooten went to school at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee for law school. And he's got quite a background. He's also a local guy. He went to UCCS and is homegrown. One of the most interesting stories about Andrew is we learned that he is a big snowboarder and that he's in fact rescued somebody from certain death who had fallen headfirst into some sort of a hole and went down and rescued that person. That person would have, I think, died based on the recitation of facts that I've heard. And then Andrew Lotto comes to us from Widener Law in Delaware, and he worked in a prosecutor's office out in New Jersey. He's also got an undergraduate in criminal justice and sociology. Commissioners, I would ask that you overwhelmingly and unanimously approve the appointment of each of these 4 deputy district attorneys. They've already hit the ground running. They're doing fantastic work on behalf of the 4th Judicial DA's office and, more importantly, the citizens of the 4th Judicial District in El Paso and Tulare counties. They are very dedicated to the prosecution function, to upholding public safety, and standing up for victims who can't stand for themselves. I would turn it over to you now if you'd like to ask any questions of these people.
Can we have each of them just put a name with a face very briefly for us?
Morning, my name is Trevor Larned Stark.
And anything else you'd like to add? Okay.
James Parsons from Texas.
Andrew Lotto.
Morning, I'm Andrew Wooten.
Excellent. Well, commissioners, do we have any comments or questions? Commissioner Williams.
Okay, so Andrew Wooten, did you grow up in Colorado Springs?
I did. I moved here when I was 6 in 1996, and I've basically been here the whole time except for a couple brief little stints for law school and about 4 months in the Caribbean when I was 19. But otherwise, I've lived here.
All right. What high school did you graduate from?
I was at Sand Creek High School out in District 49.
Okay, very good.
And what, let's see, Marty, what is a cryptologist?
So I studied Arabic with the Army and mostly did signals intelligence analysis.
Okay, all right. Those are my questions to begin with.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I first want to mention for Mr. Allen, speaking like a true prosecutor, you are requesting an overwhelmingly and unanimous vote in favor of these four.
As I always say, we love unanimous verdicts.
Yes, well, you know, it's going to be a deep contemplation on this. I'm certain of that. I do want to actually highlight, I mean, the resumes are in a package here, and I just deeply appreciate the 4th Judicial District, the district attorneys that Michael pulls in, these 5, but including the 4 that are here present, have some really interesting things in their resumes, and I'm going to mention a few of them. One of you is a former securities trader. So I think that's pretty interesting. That's on the resume. I see a lot of associate attorneys and other attorney work. One of you actually worked for the DWI guys in Texas. Now, I got to tell you, I kind of like that term. That's really a lot of fun. But of course, the real purpose of that is criminal defense, to make sure that everybody gets a fair trial. So that's really important. It's just kind of a snazzy title. I see many of you have worked for U.S. attorneys' offices. This one here is in the Western District of Texas, but there's a few others. The Manhattan Institute for Policy Research, which is works on legal issues. I see some of you worked for, as has been legal representation for churches and so forth, and we do believe deeply in the right for free expression of religion, so thank you for defending those churches. I see assistant prosecutors. I see at least one of you has worked in the Denver District Court as a judicial law clerk. That's outstanding. And I think we kind of heard a little bit already, the cryptologist work in the U.S. Army. I happen to actually have known what that term was. So having put 28 years in the U.S. military myself. And I see also a public policy work with the Family Policy Alliance. These are really great snippets of background. There's some breadth and depth in these resumes, and I'm really looking forward to all of you working in the district attorney's office. So thank you for coming and working here.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you very much. I don't know, this was a pretty good group, but I put it over the top with the cryptography aspect for me. So I appreciate all that work. I was an intel officer before, so I appreciate all that great work. But great backgrounds from the rest of you as well. Thank you.
Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you. As always, always fantastic groups that come in front of the BOCC. So we obviously take this very seriously, as I know DA Allen does. At the same point, it's always a great opportunity to get to know folks a little bit. So the question I always like to ask, everyone likes to talk about sports around here. I'm not a big sports person. So my question is always about what is your favorite law-related either TV show, movie, or perhaps book?
I don't really have one. My fiance says that I ruin everything that involves law because I just yell objection at the TV. So I stick with sports usually, but.
Yeah, I'm married to a lawyer. They tend to do that.
I think my favorite movie is The Firm.
I've been breaking into the Netflix show Your Honor with Bryan Cranston recently. That's pretty excellent.
It's eerie.
I just rewatched it recently, but Aaron Brockovich, good legal movie.
Excellent, thank you. It helps us to see the personalities, and we know that with each of the things that you just named of your favorite show, you're bringing a piece of that to your chosen career here. We're grateful that you've chosen to do that with El Paso County. We joked earlier about public safety being a priority. That is no joke here, but it is, you all are a critical piece of how safe our citizens feel in this community. If they know that that crimes and criminals will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and that DA Allen has an excellent team of experts behind him helping helping with that. So we're just grateful that you're here. Bring everything you got, and we look forward to seeing it. Thank you. With that, do we have a motion?
I would move approval of the appointments of Trevor Stark, James Parsons, Andrew Wooten, and Andrew Lado to be deputy district attorneys.
And can I clarify that?
Are we-
And Stephanie Curry,
are we adding
who
in
is not
Stephanie?
here, but I'm sure she'd like to be approved as well.
She didn't get to answer the questions, but I
Yeah.
will move that in to approve Stephanie as well.
And I'll second.
That has been moved and seconded. Any further comments? Okay. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
It's close, but aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you,
DA Allen.
Commissioner. It's always great to bring new folks over in front of you. I've never actually answered Commissioner Bremer's question before.
Geithner.
Geithner, I'm sorry, Geithner. I'm looking at one and looking at the other at the same
I
time.
bet you it's Legally Blonde 1 and 2.
No, well, that's a good second choice. It's actually A Few Good Men because it stands for the Navy holding the Marine Corps accountable.
Well done. Well done. Congratulations. Item number 5.
Item number 5 is changes, postponements, and notice of the next meeting. I'm unaware of any changes or postponements to today's agenda, and the next meeting will be Thursday, September 26th at 9 o'clock for land use.
Item number 6.
Item number 6 is the consent calendar, including items 6A through 6Q1.
Are there any members of the public who are wishing to speak on any item on today's consent calendar? I have been told that our sheriff would like to speak on one of the items relevant to his office.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Honorable Commission. It is your duty to provide funding for the county, and it's a tough duty, tremendous responsibility, and you do a fabulous job at that. And I'm grateful for the funding that you provide my office. Recognize that public safety must come first. With that, I have a daunting task of ensuring that I spend that money according to what you demand and require to keep the community safe, and what the public demands and requires to keep the community safe. That's not always a typical crime like you would think of, assault or murder, the most egregious crimes. But sometimes it's traffic. And there are people who believe, well, traffic's a victimless crime, and I'm here to argue against that. And so I'm here to tell you that I do take that money that you afford me very seriously and appropriate that to the proper allocations. Sometimes it is my traffic enforcement. In recent years, El Paso County has been designated as the #1 fatality in traffic in the state of Colorado for several years. And that's unacceptable. And I take that personally. I take it personally because I have to answer to you and I answer to the citizens of El Paso County. And I'm trying to do something to change that. When I took office, I reduced the upper staff to try to find additional funding for essential services, which are my deputy sheriffs. And with that, we were able to add an additional full-time traffic enforcement deputy. My goal is by the end of the year to add another one to reduce those. The plan includes awareness to the public, education, as well as enforcement. Enforcement is a crucial piece because people must be aware that if you engage in these activities that cause risk to the community, we're going to hold you accountable. Even though people believe that's a victimless crime, it isn't. If we're #1 in the state for traffic fatalities, that's absolutely not a victimless crime. And we take it very seriously here. And so I thank you for granting me those funding. We're also finding additional funding methods to enforce the laws, the roads, and keep them safe in El Paso County. And that's why we're here this morning with 2 grants from the state. So the state is also helping us. And they've recognized us as doing some great work here in El Paso County, collaborating with our regional partners and law enforcement, including State Patrol the municipalities here in El Paso County, and together we're doing a great job in making El Paso County safer. The tip of the spear for my office is Sergeant Jason Hagg, and he's here this morning to further explain what those efforts with these grants will provide the citizens of El Paso County.
Thank you, Sheriff. And before he begins to clarify, I believe the Sheriff is speaking of both items 6L and 6M. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Real quick, he discussed it. We have 2 traffic safety grants that are on your consent calendar for approval this morning. They're both funded through the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and then those are worked through our partners at the Colorado Department of Transportation who administer those for us. They're giving us 2 grants this year. One is called a traffic safety grant that focuses on speed, distracted driving, and reckless driving. The other one is an impaired driving enforcement grant, which specifically, as entailed, talks about the impaired driving problems. Just kind of give you an idea what that money does. The bulk of it pays overtime. As he said, our traffic unit is a little smaller right now. He has done the sheriff has done great work on expanding that. We're getting bigger. We've doubled already, and by the end of the year, we should be fully manned. What that overtime does is it gives an incentive to patrol deputies who can make some extra money to go out and enforce traffic laws in our county. Same with the DUI grant. Our impaired driving grant does the same thing, provides overtime to those folks to do that. It also, traffic safety also provides some equipment for us, some radars, LiDARs, speed measuring equipment, and then some other travel to attend some conferences, traffic safety conferences as well. The impaired driving grant, same thing, overtime. And then last year, it bought us 4 dash cameras for our cars that are instrumental. District Attorney has already gone, but to have evidence of those crimes, to get them successfully prosecuted in our courts. So just to give you an idea, last year, well, from October 1st to August 31st last year, about half of our agency citations were written on those traffic grants. So just over 3,200 roughly traffic citations were written on that grant. And then about half of our DUI or impaired driving arrests were done through those traffic grants. So I just appreciate the support. As he mentioned, traffic safety is a huge problem in our community. It's not a victimless crime. In my opinion, it's a public health crisis. I mean, we're losing more people to traffic crashes than we are to violent crimes in this county. So we need to do something about it. He's put a lot of trust in me, and I appreciate that. Got a lot of support from the sheriff on this mission. So appreciate your time, your vote, hopefully, on this to approve those grants, and then we'll get to work on our new grant on October 1st and go to work. I will also offer you this. Commissioner Geithner has gone on a ride along with me one time to see the problems out in her area. I'll offer that to any of you. If you want to come ride, I got a seat for you. I can show you the traffic problems we have in our county, and be happy to entertain any questions you have as well.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here today and calling attention to this item. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Really appreciate you guys being here today and highlighting this. Enjoyed our ride along. Certainly eye-opening, and being in Falcon and living there, I can tell you I've seen a significant difference in just the presence of the sheriff's office out there over the years. Lived in Falcon for about 12 years, and there was a time when we would joke and say, I don't think I've ever seen law enforcement in many years. You just don't see anybody out there, but you guys are doing a great job, especially of those folks who are really, they're not close to following the rules. They're really pushing pretty hard on a lot of those rules. I've seen the increase with State Patrol, especially on Highway 24 as well, because there have obviously been some very dangerous incidents there. So it's great to see that is happening and that you are all working together. I think, to your point, it's very easy for folks to, think that it's no big deal for them to speed, or it's no big deal for them to run through that, roll through that stop sign, or whatever those things are. But we know that it does affect lives, and it's important for us all to stay vigilant. There's so many distractions today inside of a vehicle. So really appreciate the work on that. As a parent of a new and emerging driver, I'm just appreciative. I mean, it's a scary place when you send your kids out in a vehicle to know that, not only are you worried about them, but you're worried about all those other reckless drivers who are not necessarily focused on the folks around them as well. So just really appreciate your work on that. I think especially during the construction of Rex and Meridian, we all know there were a whole lot of people that were, just not really taking those slow down signs seriously through that construction zone, and really appreciate you guys taking the time to get out there and just be a presence in a lot of cases and make sure people know, hey, it's just not okay, and you're not gonna just be able to drive 25 miles over the speed limit through a construction zone and not be held accountable. So thank you for your work.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams.
Yes, I really appreciate this. I think more of a presence out in Black Forest as well. Falcon, out in Peyton, I know that it's just very important. I also had the opportunity to work with my state representative to speak to the legislative liaison for the Colorado State Patrol, because I have Highway 83. Now, in Douglas County, it's my understanding the commissioners have an intergovernmental agreement and they take over the patrolling of Highway 83 through their sheriff's office. They don't have the budget that we have. We have a much leaner budget. And Highway 83 is becoming quite a danger zone. And so I was able to also get Colorado State Patrol down to help us do a few more of patrols along there to try and get people to slow down. But we really appreciate all you do and going out there, and just even the presence helps people to slow down. So thank you for applying for these grants.
Thank you. Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the work that you're doing as well. These are just great opportunities to really help with regard to traffic enforcement. I appreciate also the offer that you've made to do a ride-along. I'm just thrilled to let you know that I've done 3 of them so far. Yeah, and they've been they're really interesting. It is clear that our deputy sheriffs and the whole sheriff team is very, very busy in those 3 ride-alongs, an 8-hour shift, and I did stay for the whole shift. It was amazing the amount of interactions that that law enforcement team, in the case of the Beacon unit, which was my 3rd ride along, and in case of the individual for the other 2, a lot of interactions. So there's a lot put into that 8-hour shift. It's real work. And I'm just really proud of all you guys. I appreciate also Commissioner Geithner's comments about her kids. I'm very proud to report that I have now of 2 adult grown children, and neither of them have gotten a ticket so far. So we successfully navigated that young adult period where, you can possibly have some challenges. But it is important to also continue to note the importance of traffic safety, because my daughter in downtown Colorado Springs was rear-ended by another driver, destroyed the car, did not hurt my daughter, and that person was, driving while distracted and caused that accident. So no one wins when you have those kind of situations. The person that commits that violation loses, and the victims lose. In our case, of course, it was the trials and tribulations of having an older car that I got very little money from the insurance company from, and I needed to get another car, and I ended up putting an extra $15,000 into that, right? So it's better that we just don't have these infractions to begin with. So I think it's important to have this kind of service, especially when people are aware that it's happening. It does make people think twice about driving fast or driving while impaired. That's a huge mistake to do that, driving impaired. So thank you for the work that you all do, and keep on going. Thanks.
Thank you very much for being here today and calling attention to this. This is an item on, both of these are contracts on the consent calendar, so we are still on item number 6. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak on any item on today's consent calendar? Okay, hearing none. Commissioners, comments, a motion?
Comment?
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item P, I just want to highlight this. There are a lot of items on here, and it might be a little difficult to get through all of them. But this is a resolution to approve an encroachment management agreement with the United States Department of the Air Force concerning wildfire mitigation measures, and being the county commissioner on the west side of El Paso County. It's work like this that is exceptionally important for my constituents. And this is to recognize and appropriate federal funding to the tune of $424,000 that will go to our emergency response 2024 budget to work on fire risk reduction concerns around the Cheyenne Mountain Space Force Base. So this is, to me, is a great resolution, and I appreciate the federal government contributing to producing fire risk safety in our county, and I want to express my appreciation for that grant. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on the consent calendar? Okay, a motion?
I would move approval of the consent calendar.
Second?
That's for items 6A through Q1. I'll call the roll.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
That's okay. I know. I'm first. Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf, you were ready.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The consent calendar passes 5-0. Item number 7.
Item number 7 is the proclamation recognizing Creek Week 2024. Stan Vanderwerf, Commissioner, Board of County Commissioners.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you very much. And I see we have some folks coming down. Thank you for coming down to the podium. Let me go and proceed with the reading. I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation recognizing Creek Week 2024. Whereas El Paso County residents and visitors enjoy a rich array of natural resources, including forests, grassland, riparian areas, lakes, creeks, and an expansive variety of open spaces. And whereas among these, the Fountain Creek watershed stands out as a valuable amenity encompassing Fountain Creek, related wetlands, and existing trails. The watershed has served as a major recreational resource for children and adults for generations and is critical for agriculture in the Pikes Peak region. And whereas the Fountain Creek Watershed Flood Control and Greenway District collaborates with El Paso County, the City of Colorado Springs Utilities, and various community organizations to coordinate the 11th annual Creek Week cleanup to encourage the protection, restoration, and maintenance of the Fountain Creek watershed. And whereas Creek Week is a litter cleanup, education, and restoration effort throughout the watershed set for September 28th and runs through October 6th, and is the largest cleanup event in the state of Colorado. And whereas Creek Week programs and activities are designed to raise awareness of water quality and littering issues within our watershed, to encourage organizations and individuals to collect litter and debris and make Fountain Creek and the watershed cleaner and safer. And whereas businesses, churches, schools, nonprofits, neighborhood associations, youth groups, service clubs, and all individuals are encouraged to form a creek crew to clean up at Creek Week project sites. And whereas Creek Week litter removal activities will reduce pollution in our creeks and remove clogs in our waterways that can lead to flooding, provide for a safer drinking water supply, support agricultural resources, and enhance wildlife habitat and property values. Now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County, Colorado hereby recognizes September 28th through October 6, 2024 as Creek Week in El Paso County, and encourages citizens to help protect, restore, and maintain waterways by participating in Creek Week activities. Done this 24th day of September 2024 at Colorado Springs, Colorado. The Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County, Colorado signed Cami Bremer, Chair, Carrie Geithner, Vice Chair, Lajinos Gonzalez Jr., Stan Vanderwerf, and Holly Williams, members, and signed and attested to by Steve Schleicher, County Clerk and Recorder. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. That has been moved and seconded. I believe we have a presentation associated, and please introduce yourselves for the record and put names with faces for everyone, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Great. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Allie Shook. I'm the Executive Director of the Fountain Creek Watershed District, joined by Angie Schertzinger, who is our new Watershed Outreach Coordinator. And we're just thrilled to be in front of you this morning to kick off the 11th Annual Creek Week Cleanup. We did some rebranding this year. You might notice we have a new look. So our new mission is to serve as the stewards of the Fountain Creek Watershed, working collaboratively to protect, restore, and sustain its health. Through innovative watershed management, inclusive engagement, and partnership-driven solutions, we strive to inspire a shared commitment to the long-term resilience and vitality of our watershed and its diverse communities. It really does take all of us to protect and enhance our home watershed. The Watershed District is 15 years old this year. We were established in state legislature in 2009. To date, we've brought forth over 20 plans and studies. We've done 20 creek restoration projects. We have a robust suite of engaging programs where we can involve the community in the work that we do. We are supported in our creek restoration work from Colorado Springs Utilities. By virtue of the Southern Delivery System, we were granted $50 million to offset the impacts from that imported water that returns down Fountain Creek. We're also supported by you all of our 9-member governments. Each year we get a contribution that supports our effort. And to date, we've not established that sustainable funding, and that's something we continue to work on. Just in case you need a little reminder of our watershed, it's huge, 927 square miles. We encompass 2 counties, 9 municipalities. We have this huge elevation change, over 10,000 feet change over about 70 miles. And we have extremes in slopes and soil types, and it'll rain at my house and hail at Commissioner Vanderwerf's house, and just varying precipitation events as we see throughout the year, multitudes of water users and interests. And because of that, we're the second most studied watershed in the country. The first is some canal in Florida. We don't really care about that. But people are very interested in what's happening around our watershed. And the reason that we went from the look on the left, that's an old building at Colorado College, to our look today is because of water. The reason we're able to grow as a community is because of the forethought by engineers years ago that said, hey, we're going to need water for this growing community. We don't have a river. We have a lot of cute little creeks, but they're not enough to sustain our communities. So we brought in water from the West Slope and now from Pueblo Reservoir to allow our community to grow, and we hope that's done responsibly. These are the things that keep me up at night. Many watershed risks that we face. We know that the next flood, the next fire is around the corner, and we're here to be proactively working on ways that we can be strong and united when those things do come into our communities. We know that Fountain Creek is, as I like to say, predictably unpredictable. It's my problem child. So the image on the left is a bank of a resident in Fountain who lost 9 feet of her property in a springtime storm this year. It wasn't even that significant of a storm, but you get the right conditions and that creek starts to crumble. The middle picture are residents in Pueblo County. You can see their property is right on the banks, and it could be the next storm that takes away that infrastructure. And then we have some creative watershed management done by some landowners using concrete or vehicles to try to protect their land. So these are things that we try to work on with private landowners as well. We've got a great management team. We have a board of directors representing all of our 9-member governments, as well as a Pueblo County landowner. We have a monetary mitigation fund advisory committee that works to make sure that $50 million is spent as responsibly and efficiently as possible. We have a technical advisory committee and a way for citizens to provide a voice to the watershed management we do. We have grown our team. We know that this work continues to grow, and for that I've brought in more folks to help do the great work that we do. So I'm really proud of my team and all that we've been able to do in the last several years. Here's some examples of the outreach and education opportunities that we have throughout the year. We can be seen scooping the poop in Bear Creek Park a couple times a year. We've been really great at promoting native plants and hosting a rain garden effort and rain barrel sales. Always looking for opportunities to engage the community. In terms of Creek Week, this is a program I started 11 years ago. I've run in front of you for 11 years. Time flies, but we don't have that commercial of the crying Indian anymore. You know, that's not really seen, but we know that people get outside, they love the outdoors, and boy, is it disappointing to see that litter. It can be the windblown litter that we get on a daily basis or people illegally dumping. But this is our way for citizens to give back. And it really, most of these cleanups take an hour or 2 of your time. Really great for the little kiddos to get that experience of doing a little bit of good in a short amount of time. In terms of El Paso County, I cannot say enough about how important our partnership has been with you all. This is going on 10 years now. We secured tool trailers a number of years ago so that we can use grabbers and snippers and do a little bit more work beyond cleanups at some of these events. We've been fortunate to secure space in the Brewer Creek Maintenance Shop. We don't have a building for the Watershed District, so we're really proud of the value of the partnership that we've had to store our stuff in the maintenance shop. That maintenance shop has hosted our material pickup events for our springtime Great American Cleanup and also Creek Week. We utilize the Creekside Room to train our crew leaders so they can have a safe and effective cleanup. Nature Center and Parks have been partners every single year hosting cleanups throughout the county facilities. We also utilize the shop for the rain barrel pickup sale and participate in all sorts of educational programming. So I really want to recognize Mr. Martz and his team for all that great support throughout the years. Yes, we have some goodie bags for you that Angie's going to pass out. We are kicking off this year with our grand cleanup at America the Beautiful Park this Saturday at 9 a.m. We're partnering with our friends at Richard's Rubbish Roundup. They were inspired by Creek Week and said, you should do Creek Week more throughout the year. And I said, no, it's too much. You do it. So they did. So we've got weekly cleanups occurring every Tuesday that Richard Scorman and his team put on. So we're gathering together Saturday. We're going to build our litter letter art installation. This year's word is renew. So look for that as you're driving on Cimarron, carefully driving on Cimarron. We'll have that put up this Saturday. We'll have live bluegrass, refreshments. We're giving away a couple of rain barrels. So if you didn't get one at our spring sale, please join us on Saturday. If Saturday doesn't work for you, we like to say Creek Week is 9 days, no excuses. So hit up our website and pick a cleanup that works for you. We like to say pick a date, pick a location, and pick it up. We've got over 30 public events that we've coordinated yet this year. Really grateful for your support and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do we have any questions or comments? Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I greatly appreciate this. Allie, done great work. Stan and I have been members of the Watershed District for, almost 8 years, either as primary or alternate. And so greatly appreciate all the work, the cleanups, the things we're doing. We need to respect, our country, our region, our waterways, and just give back to the community. This is one great way that the community can give back, and, especially for, as you mentioned, the kids. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I also want to express my appreciation to the Fountain Creek Watershed District, to Ali and you and everybody on the team. Also thank Commissioner Gonzalez for his service on the Fountain Creek Watershed District before I picked that up a couple years ago. And it is so important for us to collaborate between the county and the Fountain Creek Watershed District. We have a lot of water projects going on. You have a lot of water projects going on. And, the heavy rains that we had in the Northeast that produced some challenges, which we were successful in getting a national emergency declaration. You and I have had this conversation about, that's given us an opportunity to bring some federal money in. And there was damage downstream from that as well. And it would be really beneficial, I think, to consider those kinds of things. Of course, our priority is El Paso County, but your priority is El Paso and Pueblo. But I know that collaboration and cooperation will just continue to help us, all of us, in these kinds of things to make sure that our water is clean. And it's so important for everything. And it's so much more than just recreation and enjoyment and beautiful vistas. It's also farming. It's also food. It's also this agriculture. And so it's important really for the economy. It's important for enjoyment of our natural environment. So I'm glad that we're doing this work and helping to produce benefits for all of these industries and people across our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing all of this information. It's obviously so important for us all to be good stewards of the earth and take care of our waterways. So really appreciate that. I had an opportunity a couple of weeks ago to speak to a several classes of third graders out in my area. And as part of their assignment, they were asked to write letters to their mayor. Well, in Falcon, we don't have a mayor, so they wrote letters to me instead. And several of them, and several of the comments that I received and questions when I was speaking to them was around littering. And so it was really neat to see that that is something that they were fixated. And I got the opportunity to tell them about Creek Week and how they could participate in just a few weeks. So I'm looking forward to hoping some of those third graders and their families decide to participate. And it was something new that wasn't on their radar before. So it's such a great way to get so many folks in our community together to work on this. So thank you for the entire 11 years that you have been working on it. That's a very long time.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes, I appreciate you organizing this event every year. Obviously, keeping our water clean is very important. There's a lot of trash that is either dumped or flies to the creek, and we need to have that water clean for our residents. And so I did participate once long ago before I was a commissioner in a Fountain Creek cleanup, and it was really fascinating. I know we all got a little bit stuck on trying to get a grocery basket out from under a pedestrian bridge, and we just could not get that grocery basket out. But other than that, we had a lot of fun, and it's a very beautiful area and very worthwhile to keep it clean so that we can enjoy the waterways, we can enjoy clean water coming into our house from that. So thank you for your efforts.
My colleagues have said it very well. We are excited that you are here today. And, you know, we talked earlier in this meeting about public safety too, and this protecting our watershed actually falls into that to some degree. So we're grateful for your efforts in that. And, you know, former council member Richard Scorman was honored a couple of weeks ago at a city event for his tireless service, and I'm not at all surprised that he has seen an issue and gathered his friends literally to take care of the problem themselves. And I love that is inspiring others to do the same. And throughout the year, just each citizen contributing where they can with their talents, with their passions, and altogether it is making for a better and more beautiful and safer community. So thank you very much for your efforts. Great work, and glad to have some stability in your organization as well. You've brought a tremendous sense of that. So with that, any final comments, Commissioner Vanderwerf? Okay, there is a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. We'll take a brief recess for a photo. Good morning and welcome back to the Tuesday, September 24th Board of County Commissioners meetings. We are now on item number 8.
Item number 8 is comments by elected officials and commissioner liaison reports.
And seeing no countywide electeds in the audience, we will begin with Commissioner Williams.
Yes, good morning. I wanted to thank the Chamber of Commerce. We spent last week in Washington, D.C. We had some very good informational sessions, some of them about the federal government. So nice to work in the local government where things get done. One of them was the fact that they've only passed something like 70 bills this year, which is okay. We don't need more federal government, but we do need a National Defense Authorization Act to keep our military paid, and that's the most important one. We learned that the debt ceiling expires on January 1st. The new congressmen are sworn in on January 3rd, and the Treasury Department does have some ability to fund the government for a couple weeks before Congress gets it together, but makes it rather challenging for our new congressman from this district to start and come right in having to help with the debt ceiling increase bill. So it was very interesting. The other thing we also learned, which I found very fascinating, was about PFAS. We learned this in the public policy track, not the defense track, that they are looking to make with the PFAS, if the water goes through your pipes, you're liable. That is, I think, somewhat of an unfair resolution because we have a lot of water districts who cannot afford that liability. And so we're going to have to watch that very closely. We talked with our state representatives, our state senators. It was overall a very enjoyable trip. And we got to meet a lot of good people in our community, and the Castle Rock Chamber of Commerce came along, which was really fascinating as well. So in addition to that, I will just go over my calendar this morning. That seems to be the most important thing, which is a good thing. Apparently, I have jury duty tomorrow. So I'm glad I started right there on that one. I would have missed it. Justice Services has an open house tomorrow. They do pretrial services, try to get those who have committed a crime into court so that those court dates are not delayed. They do a very good job at that. And then we have a Region 16 Opioid Abatement Council meeting. On Thursday, we have the Honoring the Brave breakfast. Our land use meeting, a road impact advisory committee. And then Friday and Saturday are open for me, and Sunday. And then on Monday, I am attending the 3rd Colorado Opioid Abatement Conference in Larimer County, which should be fairly interesting to see. It's primarily sponsored by Larimer and Weld counties. Attorney General Weiser will be there. It will be interesting to learn as to how the other regions have dedicated their money to solving the opioid crisis, and bring back information for that committee, as well as perhaps be able to share that with my fellow commissioners. So I'm really looking forward to attending that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll talk a little bit also about the DC fly-in. Again, a great event. I went on the defense track, and there were several presentations and briefings that were very, very interesting in there. Some of them talking about some of the challenges we have in our international affairs for the nation, and some of the risks we are now carrying in the country with conflicts seeming to grow around the world. So that was really eye-opening and really interesting. But I did stay an extra day as the federal liaison of the 5 commissioners to talk to members of our delegation. In some cases, that was the actual members themselves. In other cases, it was their staffs. And I'm happy to report to the public that the federal courthouse that we're working on getting in Colorado Springs is actually set in the Senate Appropriations Bill. So we're just working. Now, it's not the courthouse itself, so let me talk about it's the requirements study to validate the requirements. So that is the first funded step requirement that has to take place going on the path to get to that federal courthouse. And the federal courthouse is really important for the citizens of Colorado because if you're a person brought up on federal charges and it goes to trial, you have to go to Denver and your entire team has to go to Denver. And that's a challenge for citizens here. We also talked to our delegation about fire risk reduction efforts that we need to have done and some that are ongoing. And we do have broad Colorado delegation support for further work in that area. We also talked about additional opportunities for grants to robust our rain and flood protection efforts in El Paso County. We do have broad support on the delegation for that as well. And then the last item we talked about was something that's really making a lot of headway, and that's with regard to asking the federal government to ask the EPA to separate out ozone production that comes locally with ozone production that comes from outside our community. And this comes in two ways, either ozone from forest fires that maybe comes from California or other states, or pollution that comes from China that travels over the Pacific Ocean and produces ozone in our community. Right now, the EPA holds us accountable at 70 parts per million in ozone for any ozone, regardless of where it comes from. And then if you reach non-attainment, in other words, if you exceed that 70 parts per million, you get into a very onerous, difficult environment that's expensive, trying to reduce that ozone level. Well, in the Colorado Springs area, 50 of the 70 parts per million is what we call background ozone, which is ozone coming from other places. And there's absolutely nothing we can do about that. So I am happy to report that we are part of a coalition signed by 4 governors from 4 states. 2 of those governors are Democrats, 2 of those governors are Republicans, so it's bipartisan. And this letter went to the President of the United States asking him to direct the EPA to separate background ozone from locally produced ozone. Hold us accountable for the local ozone, but don't hold us accountable for ozone that we have nothing to do with that comes into our communities. And there is growing support for that. I'm happy to report that there are members of the congressional delegation from California that are interested in joining that coalition because they're suffering from the exact same problem. So anyway, I think it was a great visit to our delegation, great work on behalf of the citizens of El Paso County to do what we need to do at the federal level. Going past that, I'll be attending several other things that Commissioner Williams mentioned. The 8th annual Honoring the Brave breakfast Thursday morning. I will be actually in Denver tomorrow afternoon, attending several meetings. There is a Fountain Creek Watershed District tour on Friday morning. And then have some great events over the weekend, but some of those are Angel Flight West events. We've got a Run for the Angels 5K that's going to take place at an airport in the Denver area that I'm going to go to. And then there's a fly-in also at Rocky Mountain Metro for Angel Flight West that I'm really looking forward to as well. And then we'll be back to Tuesday next week. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also have a lot of things. I also participated in the DC fly-in and all the great things that were mentioned about what we did there. Did want to highlight several things. Tomorrow, Board of Health is meeting. I did want to make a statement on that. It's just a statement of fact. So that board will consider a vote on a resolution related to recreational marijuana initiatives on the ballot for Colorado Springs. That draft language, from what I can tell thus far, is to support the City Council's charter change, which would bar recreational marijuana sales in the city, and then to also support the opposition to the other ballot question that would allow recreational marijuana sales. So I just wanted to note that that is what one of the things the Board of Health will be looking at tomorrow. Airport Advisory Commission also Wednesday afternoon. Thursday, honoring the Brave breakfast. I believe the UCCS Economic Forum is also Thursday. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As always, there are several overlapping things, but it seems like public safety was a theme for today and tomorrow, in addition to participating in the Opioid Council meeting that Commissioner Williams mentioned. I will also be participating in a lunch and learn event with DA Michael Allen, focused on talking about high potency THC, fentanyl poisoning, youth violence, sex trafficking, and the role social media is playing in our youth and young adult addiction and mental health crisis, specifically here in El Paso and Teller counties. Really looking forward to this. There's a great tie-in with the Opioid Council, and it's truly a very important issue for our entire community and especially our youth. In our last Opioid Council meeting, we actually heard a presentation from One Chance to Grow Up, which I think several of my colleagues are probably familiar with, but it was specifically about statistics relating the correlation between especially high potency THC, but general marijuana use and opioid use. I thought it was striking that 14 is the age where most kids seem to get into, generally, again, that high potency THC, which is particularly dangerous, not your parents or your grandparents' marijuana, as we often hear, and the correlation between that and ending up with being involved in opioids by around 17. That's pretty striking for a mom like me of teenage kids and thinking that that's what's happening to our kids right now in our society. So really important to be aware of that. I was very pleased to hear that One Chance to Grow Up is doing some specific community advertising around this to make sure parents, again, know that how damaging this high potency THC is, because again, it's very different than what may have been around and what many folks may have been used to, and has very serious potential health side effects and mental health side effects as well. So very important for us to be talking about that, and I look forward to that opportunity tomorrow. I also have this week regional building, as well as the CCI Legislative Committee and membership meeting. We also had kind of a non-voting similar meeting to this last week for CCI. Those are very long meetings, do take up the majority of the day, but they're very important as we talk about the priorities looking towards January in the legislative session again. So quite a few different things that counties are dealing with that we're either hoping that the state will stay out of or potentially get involved in, depending upon the issue. And we are will be actually looking to make decisions about what those priorities are here pretty soon. I also just wanted to mention, I'm really excited to support a couple of nonprofits in our community this week, specifically the Soar Foundation. So I will be attending their dinner this week, and also Life Network, which is one of my favorite organizations that supports moms all through El Paso County. So looking forward to that. And then very lastly, I didn't want us to come to the end of September without mentioning that it is National Preparedness Month. So I think this is really an important one. It's very easy. We've all seen prepper shows and all those things. And I'm not talking about doomsday end of the world, but I am just talking about the necessity for us to all be prepared in any kind of emergency, whether it be a weather event, a wildfire event, whatever those things are. So just take the opportunity to start thinking about what that would look like if there were an emergency, whether it's a power outage or something else. I think something else that was relevant to me is there's conversation around a potential dock workers strike on the East Coast, and even something as small as that could affect different types of availability. I don't think I need to remind everybody about the toilet paper crisis of COVID, so you just never really know what could be headed our way. It's smart to be prepared. I think ready.gov is a good place to start. Our OEM also has some resources, so take the time to just at least have the conversation, and if that's grabbing an extra couple of gallons of water at the next grocery trip, or whatever that is, start to think about how you can become self-reliant. I think that's a big characteristic of the West and Western heritage, that we really are self-reliant folks. So don't forget to do that in the month of September.
Thank you, Commissioner. I am going to do my best to not repeat things that have been said by everyone else, but you may have seen from the scope of all the different meetings mentioned that we do a pretty good job of dividing and conquering, and a lot of things going on with all of the commissioners at any one time. So last week was honored to attend the Downtown Partnership breakfast and get a good update on all the great things going on in our downtown area. I also had Workforce Consortium Board yesterday. As we speak right now, there is a ribbon cutting for a Springs Rescue Mission Studios. That organization continues to see where the need is and meet it in a very practical, reasonable way. And we are here doing business while they are doing theirs and doing a great job of taking care of our community. I will be attending the Pikes Peak Community Foundation this evening. Tomorrow, I have Board of Health, as has been mentioned, and also Urban Renewal Authority. Following that, I'm going to catch up with Pikes Peak Housing Network's tour of housing units in our region, and I will catch up with them in the afternoon. So I see our URA director here. I got a tight agenda tomorrow. There is also a Justice Services open house tomorrow. I was happy to hear Commissioner Geithner mention the luncheon that DA Allen will be speaking at, covering a lot of topics very quickly, and glad that he is kind of a leading expert on how all of those things are actually impacting our community. And finally, a lot has been mentioned about the chamber trip. I just wanted to give a shout out to Commissioner Geithner for holding down the home front while 4 of us were dealing with policy in DC. But she did a wonderful job and also kept the state stuff with CCI going during that time. So grateful that we are very efficient at dividing and conquering and being everywhere our citizens expect us to be working. With that, any other comments by elected officials? Seeing none. Item number 9.
Item number 9 is community service organization reports, and there are none.
Item 10.
Item number 10 is public comment on items not scheduled on the agenda. This is the public's opportunity to speak on an item that is not scheduled on today's agenda. And Madam Chair, I didn't see anyone sign in ahead of time to speak.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on any item not on today's agenda? Hearing none in the room and none online. Thank you, Nancy. Item number 11.
Item number 11 is the called up consent calendar, and there are none.
Item number 12.
Item number 12 is a resolution approving a property tax increment revenue agreement with the Colorado Springs Urban Renewal Authority for the Bristol Low Urban Renewal Plan. Crystal Latier, Executive Director, Economic Development. Nikki Simmons, Chief Financial Officer.
Ms. Latier.
Good morning, Commissioners. Crystal Latier, Executive Director of Economic Development for El Paso County here. Thank you for your time this morning to hear this request, this tax increment financing request. I will quickly go through this slide deck as it will likely look familiar. It will be the same content shared at a previous work session. We also have our Chief Financial Officer, Nikki Simmons, as well as Mr. Jariah Walker, who serves as the Executive Director for the Colorado Springs Urban Renewal Authority, and the development team on site. A quick reminder about how El Paso County handles the tax increment financing request process. We receive those requests via the Colorado Springs Urban Renewal Authority. Your staff then creates an internal impact report. We have an internal review impact report committee group, and that's a great comprehensive group that folks make that group up from both our office, your finance office, your county engineer, your planning department. So many folks here at the county who are well-versed in development and requests. It then comes to you at an informal meeting for your briefing and your knowledge. We then present it at a work session for the public to also hear about the project. No votes happen at the work session. That is purely for informational purposes and also allows the opportunity for the commission to ask any questions of the URA and the developer. So we are finding ourselves here today as the formal BOCC agenda item. So this request is a formal item to you today that we are anticipating a vote on. As a quick reminder, El Paso County currently has no authority over the blight designation when we receive these requests. The Colorado Springs Urban Renewal Authority follows the state statute that helps determine whether an area is blighted or not. For this specific project, you will note that EPS, which is a third-party vendor, also does an impact report, and they found that 5 of the 11 qualifying conditions for blight were found in this project area specific to this Bristol Lowell request. So the Bristol Lowell request urban renewal area is located in Commissioner District 3. It's comprised of about 6 parcels of land on approximately 6 acres of land. And this request or development includes developing about 390 residential units consisting of studios, 1 and 2 bedroom units, ranging for folks that earn 70 to 110% of our AMI or our area median income for our region. You'll denote a map on the slide, and the next few slides are additional renderings or maps. You'll denote the site location here. And then site renderings for both Bristol and Lowell developments. On the slide in front of you, you'll denote the breakdowns of these units. So as mentioned previously, it's ranging from studio, 1 and 2 bedroom. These will serve folks earning 70 to 110% of area median income. This shows what the annual or the monthly average rate will be, as well as the approximate development size and the approximate average rent. Overall, these are significant developments for our region. As you will note, Bristol House is estimated at $63 million, and Lowell Commons is estimated at $65 million. The request specific to El Paso County is that they are requesting 100% of the county's property tax mill levy. This project is not requesting any sales tax revenue. At this time, our Chief Financial Officer, Nikki Simmons, will go through the financial information.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nikki Simmons, Chief Financial Officer. This development, as Ms. Latier just shared, is asking for 100% of our property tax increment. So what that means is that we would continue to collect property taxes based upon the current base, which right now is about $4,822 a year, and that would continue to grow by the 1% multiplier over the assessment years, generating about $135,000 in property taxes over that base, or over those 25 years. Essentially what we would have collected if nothing is developed on this property. So that is the developers and the EORA's consultants numbers. As always, your financial services department goes in and recalculates the numbers based on different mill levies. As you can see at the top, they're using a 6.862 mill calculation for this. That's a significantly temporarily reduced mill levy for Tabor reasons. Our full mill levy is 8.46, and so your financial services department goes back through and recalculates things. But based on the developers' numbers, this would generate about $1.291 million over those same 25 years to the increment. But when we go through and recalculate those numbers with our full mill levy, the increment turns out to be about $1.777 million, or if you use a net present value, just north of $1 million in real values, about $1,056,000 is the actual net present value of those numbers. Over the 25 years, this would be an average of $71,100 of property tax per year. The base property taxes we would receive is about $177,000 over those 25 years. Again, there are not any sales taxes. There's not a commercial component of this. So to summarize, they're asking for about $1.777 million. That would equate to just shy of 0.01%, so 1/100th of a percent of the county's tax base over those 25 years. And that's important because we continually talk about ensuring that we don't have too much property in a TIF. Other communities across the nation have kind of gotten themselves into trouble of having too much of their districts in TIFs and not enough money going to provide public services. And so this is 0.001%. So this would bring our total right now to about 1.5, still about 1.5% overall. And the area is located within the city of Colorado Springs, obviously, as it's a Colorado Springs urban renewal project. And the services that we provide to this area would not include streets and other things like that, but still we would continue to need to serve for all the services we provide to all citizens of El Paso County, not just the ones in unincorporated El Paso County. So there are additional services we have to provide, but we would continue to collect the base taxes over those 25 years. Ms. Latier will come back up to discuss the rest of this.
So the conclusion on impacts as we continue to look at the community impacts. So this development will include a variety of public improvements, some of which you see denoted on the right here, as well as some additional right-of-way improvements, utility, street, landscape, sidewalk, landscaping we had already mentioned. Overall, this will be adding units to our market, so we always are looking at ways to increase housing inventory in our region. Since these units will be serving folks who earn 70 to 100% of our area median income, it is safe to assume that this will benefit our working residents, such as teachers, healthcare workers, government employees, service employees, and we've also heard last time, members of our military. And then again, as Ms. Simmons denoted, it will generate a significant amount of property tax upon the conclusion of the TIF for El Paso County. And that concludes the slide deck. As mentioned, we also have the Colorado Springs Urban Renewal Authority as well as the development team if there are any questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions of staff, the development team, or the URA team? Okay, with that, thank you very much. This has been thoroughly discussed through the process that was outlined in one of the first slides, both in an informal meeting, through my attendance as liaison to the Urban Renewal Authority, and then through our work session that was held last week. So are there any further questions or comments and or a motion?
I would move approval of item number 12, the resolution approving a property tax increment revenue agreement with the Colorado Springs Urban Renewal Authority for the Bristow-Lowell Urban Renewal Plan.
And I'll second.
That has been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion, or would you like to make comments during roll call? Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I mentioned in our work session, but just to have it on the record here, really appreciate our applicants, folks from the URA being here and answering all the questions along the process and along the way. One of the things that I have continually said, and it's not a reflection on either the developer or the folks at the URA, but I'm not a huge fan of the way that the laws work in Colorado around this issue. Because our property taxes are pretty much there's not a whole lot of way for us to not put ourselves in this situation. It feels a bit forced. I've also mentioned at previous meetings that I really think that this works very similarly to our special districts in the county, where these kind of public improvements are very expensive. It's very helpful to be able to have a mechanism. If we're going to have growth pave its own way, it's very helpful to have a mechanism to help in that process, and so that the tax dollars for the folks in that area are going back to creating those public improvements. So in terms of all of that, I think these are similar, again, to how I view special districts, and I think it's a very good way of doing this. If I were on the city council, I would have zero hesitation in looking at this and saying, yes, this is a good use of our tax dollars. On the other hand, I always struggle with the fact that we have different responsibilities. Those are not streets we would typically. So that roughly, I think it was $1.7 million over the time period, we would not normally just hand over that portion of the taxes that we collect to the city to build their streets. in the same way that they don't do that to us. We each have very separate responsibilities, and that's where it gets a little bit complicated for me. Because we have, and I mentioned this in the work session, about a $625 per person tax burden per citizen, and the city has about a $2,500 tax burden per citizen. And so we run a very, very lean budget, and these amounts, though they are drug out over time, to me, it just does not seem quite fair that the state has decided that we should spend county collected dollars on city infrastructure projects when we would in no other time do that. We can make lots of arguments about who pays those taxes and whether it's fair and what do city folks get for those tax dollars and all those other things. But it is true, we do the best that we can within that system. And when we bring more people to the city, certainly they will also drive on county roads. So there are impacts and services to the point of our CFO that we do continue to have to serve there. And so I do think I still have that concern. Nevertheless, the way the law is written, we really don't have that option. And again, no reflection on the developer or the URA. It's a great project. It's just a matter of philosophy on how this is actually set up and how it is created. So I will be a yes on this vote. And yet I like to put those things on the record for citizens and for everyone involved, that, you know, it's just an interesting, it's an interesting way that the laws have been formed around this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I greatly appreciate Commissioner Geithner's comments. Those have been very similar to things I've been mentioning the last several years. I will add just one other thing that I think often with these kind of projects that are in the city, we keep hearing things such as like, well, county services are not impacted, but on lower income projects, they clearly are, because a portion of those are likely to be utilizing some sort of human services, and if they are doing so, then they are clearly impacting county services. I did not get to participate in the work session. That was the one question I had over here. That does not preclude me from being able to vote on this today. But I've done all the research on this, and one of the things that I do appreciate about this, so in that area, if you do understand that area, that southeastern portion clearly is an area we do not get to vote on whether something is blighted or not. That's the urban renewal, the city's determinations. But in this case, that area would be very evident to anybody from the general public, I believe, that is an area of dire rehabilitation. And that this project does do that, especially, as I mentioned, that southeastern portion as it stretches down in that URA designated area. And because of that, I'll be supportive of this. Thank you.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I appreciate the project as well. I think it is a good project. It's a project to provide housing, so I appreciate Commissioner Geithner's comments on that particular part. As my colleagues know, one of the concerns that I have about tax increment financing is overuse of the style of financing. We are aware of some communities across the nation that really used this approach very aggressively, and then when it came down to dealing with some kind of an emergency situation or dealing with some other type of financial impact, they had so much money tied up in tax increment financing projects that they didn't have flexibility to deal with some other conditions. But I'm very appreciative of the county's staff paying attention to that. It was in fact mentioned this morning in the comments about making sure that when we use this, we make sure that we don't overuse it and get to too much of a contribution of our total revenues into this approach. And I believe that we are well within a frugal use of this approach, and therefore I support it. And I just encourage the county, but I know they will, to continue to pay attention to that so that we don't find ourselves in an overuse situation of this approach that might cause some challenges later. But we're within that number, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. All very valid and relevant comments today. I too, and I said it in the work session as well as in our informal, I think this is a very well-planned improvement to an area that could use some help and revitalization, and that's exactly what the URA exists for. In this case, it's being very well applied. I have heard from conversations that a large percentage of these units are soldiers from Fort Carson, as who is seeking those out, and that continues to be an overall bigger picture concern for me, that potentially we have soldiers that cannot find an affordable, close in proximity place that aligns somewhat with their BAH that they're provided, and yet we need them to be here. We need them to have a place in this community, and so I'm grateful that this particular project will take care of that. In regards to kind of the philosophical comments about TIFs in general, I'm not in disagreement over any of it, but I do want to take the opportunity to clarify really for the public. I think everyone up here very well understands this, but TIF stands for tax increment financing. So if you have a baseline of what a property is assessed at, and someone comes in and says, I would like to improve this to a projected level, we're only talking about giving up, and we have the estimates of exactly what that is estimated to be in this case, but what you're talking about is not what our current tax base is. Presumably that tax base would stay the same, but for the improvements that are proposed being on it. So what these projects are asking for when they ask for a TIF is the increment, so the delta and the difference between where today's tax base is and where it's projected to be after all the improvements are done. And then it, to use one of our other favorite Colorado tax terms, it sunsets at the 25-year point for that, and the county then recovers all of that increased value beyond that term. So just wanted to take the opportunity to be very transparent with what a TIF is and how it works. And with that, I am ready to call a roll on a motion that has been made and seconded. Were there any other comments, Commissioner Geithner? Okay. Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf?
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. Congratulations. Item number 13.
Item number 13 is the application by Ceda Liquors Incorporated, doing business as Spirits House Liquors, to waive the time requirement for filing an application and renew the retail liquor license located at 6 Whitefield Boulevard. Commissioner District 4, Jackie Allred, Clerk to the Board Manager. And with the chair's permission, I'll give a brief recap of the request.
Okay, please do.
The applicant has issued a written request to address the issue of timeliness in filing the complete renewal, and that's attached in the board's packet. The licensee received a state violation of the liquor code on October 10th, 2023 for sale to a 20-year-old Liquor Enforcement Division underage purchaser and is not eligible for administrative approval. The applicant has met all statutory and policy filing requirements, and no adverse comments have been received from the Sheriff's Office. At the board's discretion, a motion is required to waive the time requirement and to approve the renewal. The applicant is present to address any questions the board might have.
Good morning, I'm Binod Newpen, manager of the Ceda Liquors INC, and yeah, I have a sincere apology for that incident happened from my employee last year on October 10th. And then we been working on that part, like training and then putting more signage for the people who try to enter under 21 and try to purchase an alcohol and other products. And also we install on our POS system, there is an age verification system now, so they can scan the ID and now they can clearly say they are either under 21 or over 21. So those kind of precaution we already did, and all the staff, I've been training them like every 2 to 3 months actually. I mean, reminding the same procedure what we have to do to protect, the minors to come in and buy the alcohol products. And if you guys have any question, please, I'm free to answer over here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here today. You answered the questions that typically this board will ask very directly. You just jumped right into it. So we appreciate your attention to what matters in our responsibility of issuing these licenses. Are there any further questions or comments? Commissioner Vandenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I agree with the chair's comments that you answered directly some of the concerns that we have, which is, doing everything you can to make sure that this does not reoccur. And we do see that a key component of that is training and retraining. And you did mention that you do retraining every 2 or 3 months. So I just have one quick question on that. Is that your long-term goal? You're going to continue to do that retraining every 2 or 3 months, just continuously through time, to make sure that all of your employees remain reminded and also have the skill sets
Yes,
to
sir.
identify when someone is underage?
Yes, sir. I'm gonna do that and continue to do that because that's the business we do, serve the community over down there. So we have to protect the community, and then those kind of violation, we need to stop it. So I keep doing it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do just want to touch on a different subject. So really appreciate the reassurance that, you've put measures in place to make sure that that violation does not happen again. But there's a second piece here, which is that the request was not filed in a timely manner. So can you just speak to that as well? What happened there and what measures are in place as well to make sure that in the future there will be timely filings?
We've been, working on that, and then the renewal application was there and filled up everything, and then I have another manager over there, and I asked him to submit the application on time, but it was kind of I think it's on August 10th or something. I do know that part. I think it is 10th. So, but the same day he has a COVID and he has to, stay at home for like 4 days. And when I get back to him, and it was already too late, but it was like we right away come back and submit the application. And then those kind of things, I will assure that is not going to happen from the next time. I directly going to involve in that part and make sure that it will fill up on time. And, I will request you guys, the board to, give my sincere apology for this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Great question, Commissioner Geithner. And because this request is actually for two different things, a waiver of the time requirement and an application to renew, would you mind making a motion for us, please?
Sure. Based on the fact that the licensee has showed that they have both put corrective measures in place to make sure that there are no further violations, as well as a plan to make sure that there is timely filings, I would make a motion to waive the time requirement for the applicant's late filing and renew the license.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any further questions? Thank you for being here today. I will call the roll. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. Congratulations, and please do stay diligent and in touch with our clerk.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Okay, item number 14.
Item number 14 is Department and Committee Reports, non-action items. 14A, El Paso County Fair Report, Teresa Odello, Recreational and Cultural Services Division Manager, Parks and Community Services Department.
Ms. Odello.
Good morning. Almost at the end of the meeting, but my name is Teresa Odello. I'm the Division Manager for Recreation and Cultural Services, and we are here to report our EPIC 2024 El Paso County Fair. This community event is such a big event for our community, for our residents, and it's the biggest event that the county puts on every single year. We also really appreciate the support that we received from the commissioners in the past for attending our events, providing leadership, and supporting our fair and more. I'd additionally like to thank Mr. Todd Martz over there, providing for all the work he's done for so many years leading up to the fair. And with that, I am going to turn this over to Anshana Aljens.
Thank you, Teresa. Good morning, commissioners. Thank you so much for having us. I look around the room and I go, and then there was one. We've gone through a whole lot of things this morning, and you guys know I love to talk about the fair, but I will try to get us through this in a timely manner. So we did have our county fair this year, July 13th through 20th, and it is, or it was, epic out here. It still is. We had a great time this year with our fair, and a lot of this will be familiar to you. But as always, our purpose is to celebrate the timeless celebration of the county's history and heritage. The fair is an important opportunity to celebrate community and achievements with El Paso County youth. New for 2024, we had some great ideas, and then we had to implement them all. But we really focused hard on the midweek attendance. We always see a pretty significant downturn, and so we added a lot of new fun programming this year and changed some things up. So when I was here in the spring, we talked about our sensory day, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes, but that is definitely one of the bigger things we added. The week-long petting zoo, our Mustang Ambassador program that was on site, afternoon and evening concerts, so we doubled the amount of concerts we offered. Our nature centers were out 7 of the 8 days, all day long with interactive displays. Our Cowboy Fast Draw experience was teaching the ways of the Old West. And we added some really great weeknight events. So our Epic Eras Party, our Silent Goat Disco, our Youth Bull Riding event, which was rained out and has been rescheduled for our Fall Fest event on October 26th. And our Rough Stock event on Wednesday evening, which Youth Bull Riding and Rough Stock were free grandstands events. So we'd never done that before, but we really wanted to make use of our space and offer another opportunity for people to join us during the week, hopefully incentivizing people to come back for multiple experiences at the fair. Our marketing strategy just continues to grow, but it is essentially the same. We utilize, of course, our amazing county staff team and the PIO office. Our Fair Queen does an amazing job representing us throughout the community all year long. And we have a variety of partners, from sponsors to activity partners that help us get the word out. And then, of course, our volunteers. I don't know that anybody has joined us today, but we did just in our fair board, our volunteers and our community log over 2,600 hours of volunteer work during the county fair. That does not include 4-H volunteer hours, which is actually a whole nother animal. So we are really proud of the people that show up to make this happen, to make it a true community event. Our marketing strategies include things like electronic newsletters, partnerships, posters, social media. Social media is a big one for us that continues to grow every year. Radio, television, and newspaper. You may remember last year we added a couple static billboards, and then this year we added a really beautiful digital billboard on Woodman. Hopefully you got to see it. It glowed very nicely. And then we entered movie theater world this year, and we did some pre-movie advertising and really got that into the 3 northeast and, or north, southeast, and west side of town. I put it in all the wrong directions. So hopefully, you know, that really contributed to that. Amy Jo has some pretty amazing statistics on the success of our marketing, which we'll also give you. In front of you right now are 2024 goals. These stay the same most years with small adjustments. And then we're just really excited for the next page, which is what we did with those goals. So our attendance, 30,500. Sponsorship, Dana Nordstrom, if you would just smile and wave. rocked it with her sponsorship revenue way exceeding our goal, and I believe our highest sponsorship goal ever. And then our total revenue is on here as well of $345,000, putting us nearly $100,000 over our goal. You guys can see the breakdown of attendance on here because this is where our midweek comes in. We had a heat wave advisory opening weekend. There was actually recommendations to stay home. It's never great for the county fair. Saturday did okay. Sunday we felt it. We were still over goal, but down a little bit from last year. But then our weekdays were significantly over. And if you look at Tuesday, especially Tuesday, Tuesday's our senior day, traditionally our lowest day of the fair. This year we added Sensory Day. You'll hopefully see it on our social media in the future, and I believe there are some plans to present it in the future. But we've put together a Sensory Day video talking to some of the people that engaged with that. But we saw almost 1,000 more people on the grounds on Tuesday. Tuesday morning at the fairgrounds as we opened for Sensory Day was a super exciting place to be. Our vendors were in, our public was in, our staff, it was so exciting. And I was in my office doing what I always do, and at one point just said, I need to go out and see it. And I just walked the grounds, and I will tell you that I teared up looking at families that then, as we engaged in conversations, came to the fair that would not normally have come to the fair. So we opened up an opportunity for a whole section of our community to come experience our celebration that they would just traditionally avoid. And so we're super excited with our partners that we had in that, and we will continue to work to make that bigger and better and seek out those other members of our community that may not be able to enjoy the fair and see what we can do to continue to invite all of our community out. This is how our revenue broke down. I already acknowledged Dana and her amazing efforts. Our gate admission and our carnival did well. The other thing I want to acknowledge is Sky Bogle, who's new to our team. She's hiding over here. She works with me out at the fairgrounds, and she did our vendors this year, and this is the highest vendor revenue we've ever had. She had some great creative ideas for one-day vendor events in addition to our regular vendors, and it was an amazing shopping experience. More merchandise, more variety than we've had in previous years, and so it was a lot of fun at the fair this year. And of course, we couldn't do what we do without all of our sponsors, and this list continues to grow. If we pulled up even last year's, it would probably be 10 less, but we continue to work and grow these relationships, not only for fair, but year-round. And that takes us to the end of this presentation. I'll do questions at the end, but we do have a quick wrap-up video we want to show you. And while that's playing, Sky is going to hand out our partner summary report, which is all of our impressions and information on our marketing. Nancy, if you would play that. We had a lot of fun. I will let you take a minute to review this, but the one thing I really want to bring your attention to is on page 5. PIO is using a new marketing tool to track brand impressions. But we have a pretty tight marketing budget. We don't spend very much, and we are very frugal with what we spend. And I promise you, we spent nowhere near this publicity value that's on here. But 1.5 billion impressions is what their calculator pulled from the amount of times things were shared, seen, flashed through somebody's screen. A lot of that is digital, but certainly all of our radio, TV, and online presence. So we we try to do the best we can with our funds and really try to make big impact. And this was really exciting to see as we looked at all our numbers at the end of fair. Do you have any questions for us?
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So when you exceed the budgets by the revenue, projected revenues by that much, so is the money going to go back into like upgrading some of the more of the fair facilities or to parks in general? So
I'm going to answer it to the best of my ability, and then Todd's going to correct me if I'm wrong.
because usually we don't get that big of a, we see numbers that big, but that's amazing.
Yeah, it goes into what we call the fund balance, and you guys approve it if we ask to draw money out of it. So it is saved both for future, if we have had another COVID situation or something where it would just not wipe out all of our funds, but also to continue to grow and improve the fair for next year. So you guys usually get that, I think, in the spring for approval when we ask for extra money, which, I will. And it continues to sustain us, if we happen to have a not great year, right? Like things can happen. The weather is always the one we don't control. This year it wasn't even a bad opening weekend. It was just hot. But Thursday night was a rain out. If we had 4 days of that, it would significantly impact our fair. So it allows us to not completely deplete all funds if we have a bad year.
Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you. So thank you for the great report. I know I had a lot of fun at the fair again this year, and always appreciate the entire week and getting to spend time with everyone. One of the things that wasn't really touched on a whole lot in the report, though, is kind of the 4-H component and the livestock component. I know I was at the beginning of the livestock sale this year, but it happened to fall on one of my son's birthdays, so did not get to stay for the entire event, which I think is the first time since I've been a commissioner that I was not able to stay for the entire event. But can you just touch on the livestock sale, that kind of piece, and how things went from that side of things? It's obviously a very important part of the fair, and I want to make sure that we hear about that as well.
Absolutely. And I do apologize. I don't know all of their numbers off the top of my head, but I know ballparks. So we sold more animals this year than we did last year. Last year was a record-breaking year on the livestock sale side. I believe the total last year was somewhere in the high 300,000s. And I think this year we were in the lower 400,000s. We did sell more animals. We sold different animals. So we had significantly less beef this year and a lot more swine. We do believe that the economy is a big part of that. It's cheaper to raise a pig than it is a cow. And so in the same way that we saw a lot more attendance and we saw our revenues do okay, our carnival revenue, while it still hit goal, was down. Some of those extras are just a little bit more than a family could do this year, or maybe not as often this year. So our sale was a success. The Junior Livestock Sale Committee does an amazing job with that. Hopefully you've seen some of the videos, but they partner with they've started a new partnership, the Protein for Helping Others, which they were able to donate, and I'm not going to remember the exact number, but a substantial amount of, actually Amy Jo might know. Do you know how much? 9,000 pounds of meat to be processed and donated back to Springs Rescue Mission. And so that's an amazing part too. A buyer buys the animal and then basically just donates it back. And so we're super excited how that program is continuing to grow and do well. And 4-H did have record numbers, even if they were different.
I just want to add on a little bit. I'm glad that you brought up Protein for Helping Others, because it is such an amazing program that almost 9,000 pounds of meat. And I know there was, dollars in meat. Gotcha.
Dollars. Thank you. Sorry.
And so, so I did want to just highlight that a little bit and what a great partnership that is. I mean, the fair is a great time, but we also know the values that are instilled by that 4-H program, both with those kids learning so much about responsibility and how to interact through that program, and as well as giving back to others in the community. And really, in my opinion, bridging that urban kind of rural divide. So it's a great program. So I'm glad that you highlighted that. So thank you for doing that. It continues to be something I think that will grow and be a huge, just a huge advantage for our community.
Thank you very much for being here today, for sharing this report. And I love this partner summary report. It might be a direct result of some specific questions I've asked in the past. So I just love having this right in front of us. Thank you. Thank you, obviously, to all the staff. But I also wanted to say we have several volunteer board members that work hard with you all throughout the year. We're grateful, as always, for our community volunteers. And yeah, just great work. I can't wait to see what's in store for next year. And thank you for this full report out today. Any further comments or questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Item number 15.
Item number 15 is the addendum, and there are no addendums today.
Okay, we will recess briefly into a PID and then come back for item 16. We're in recess. Madam Clerk, do you need any time to change over? Okay. I will call to order Public Improvement District number 2 meeting for Tuesday, September 24th. Item number 1.
Item number 1 is the consent calendar, including items 1A and 1B.
Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on any item on today's consent calendar? Hearing none in the room and none online. Commissioners?
Move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
That has been moved and seconded. Any further comments? Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf?
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. Item number 2.
Item number 2 is the called up consent calendar, and there are no items called up.
PID number 2 meeting is adjourned. And I am calling back to order Board of County Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, September 24th. And we are on item number 16.
Item number 16 is the executive session. 16A, executive session regarding property located on West Kacharis Street and identified by tax schedule number 741143030 for the purposes of considering the conveyance of property under 246402 4A CRS and determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators under 246402 4E CRS. Lori Sego, Senior Assistant County Attorney.
I move we go into executive session for the purposes stated on the record.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any further comments? Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf?
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. We are in executive session.